of my sisters of the world, welcome. Can I just start today's episode and say how happy I am to know that you are here, that you showed up. And I just want to say, if any of you guys felt like today was one of those days where you woke up and you just needed a real sister chat pep talk, guess who I have in the playground with me today? If you saw the show notes, one of my favorite, most encouraging lifers, Brittany Hendrix, my sister-in-law and my manager, she's here today. And she's going to bring it. Brittany. I had to do like a legit.
Hello. I'm so excited.
Brittany, you're here in the playground. How does it feel?
I'm so excited. I'm on the monkey bars. I'm
Wait, I was never good at the monkey bars. I can see you being that kid though. Like you were good at it.
I was really good. I had those baby biceps.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh man. Those pictures at your mom's house kill me. Okay. So Brittany, I'm so glad you're here. I feel like there's a plethora of topics that me and you could probably dive into, and that's why you're coming back on this show again. This is the first of many Brittany encounters, y'all, because I just love her so much, and I'm so glad you're here today. But today specifically, y'all, if any of you have ever dreamed of content creation, of even understanding the world of what it is to be a content creator in 2025, this is the episode for you. I feel like, Brittany, our relationship, I've got to give a little kind of backstory. You had a very different life about 14, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I had just married your brother and fell in love with you and your other sister, our other sister, Grace. And I remember I asked her, I was like, so how's it going with teaching? She was a teacher. Why don't you actually say it from your POV? Because I am very interested to hear that story from your angle.
Yeah. So I graduated college in 2014 and I had gotten a teaching degree and I knew that I probably wasn't going to love it. Not because I didn't love education, not because I didn't love kids, but because I knew I was going to be in a classroom all day long, 5 days out of the week. And I was like, this is going to kill me. But I was like, I got a degree, so I got to try it. And 3 months in, I was like, I'm going to die. I was like, this is not for me.
It was fifth grade, right?
It was seventh grade.
OMG, that's when they're all hormonal.
They're 12. Yeah, they're 12, and I was 22. So you're just, in my opinion, you're just not ready for that.
Yeah.
Or I just wasn't ready for that.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I think it was Thanksgiving break, and you and Stevie had come back to Texas for the break, and I remember we were driving to San Antonio to like see the lights on the Riverwalk, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh, yes, I forgot about that.
And I remember, this is like getting really detailed, but I was laying in the back seat. I think I was really depressed. I was like laying in the back seat on the way to San Antonio, just kind of like, I have to be a teacher for the rest of my life. I'm like so sad. And you guys were like, so Britt, like, how's it going? And I was like, not good, guys. And you were like, well, you know, we're kind of like
desperately
looking. We're kind of blowing up on social media right now. You didn't say that, but like you kind of told me what was going on, and like we're looking for an assistant. Like, is that something you would be interested in? And I honestly had no idea what you were talking about because the influencer world was so just like new at the time.
Yeah.
Like nobody really knew.
Yeah, we were charting new territory.
Yeah, no one was even really calling them influencers. They were calling them bloggers.
Yeah, I was a blogger.
Yeah, you were a blogger. I don't even know if you had Instagram at that very moment.
We could literally do a whole thing on the evolution of the term influencer, which started as a blogger, then it was a tastemaker, then it was like a content creator, then it was an influencer, a TikToker, a YouTuber. I mean, the list goes on and on. So wow.
Yeah, so you kind of propositioned me with that. And so then in March for spring break, I came out to LA just to kind of like see what I thought. And I just kind of felt peace from the Lord and was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I still just had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Wow.
But I was like, we're just going to try it. And so I think it was June of 2015. I moved out to LA. I became your assistant. And the rest was history.
Oh, man. And I just have to say from our angle, Stevie and I were desperately looking for somebody to help us get our life in order when it came to this new, uncharted business territory. Like Steve and I were not business people. So all I knew is that we were starting to really see success and growth. And we had hit social media during a time where, yes, there weren't first of all, there wasn't tons of like even resources available at the time, like all these editing apps that have made it easy. There wasn't tons of ways to like, obviously AI nowadays is a whole nother topic, but there wasn't a lot of things to help you navigate. So we from scratch were like, dang, if there's one area where we can hire our first hire ever, it needs to be somebody who's very organized and has their shiz together. And Brittany, I think that has been one of your strongest suits from the beginning, is that you really are this beautiful type 1, but it's hard to explain because when you think of type 1s, you think, oh my God, they're so anal and stickler and control freaks. But you actually have this gift where you are very mentally in control of how to compartmentalize and organize things. And then ultimately you came in and you started creating systems for us that I didn't even know we needed. And I thought, dang, we hit the jackpot with Brittany, and you ended up staying with us, right? For how long was it when we knew you had obviously hit the ceiling? Like there was no more room to grow in that position. And I knew we were holding her back by keeping her. But how many years were you with us? And
I think it was 5 years total. And at that point, by the end, I was like your internal ops manager, I think was my official title.
Yeah.
And so you had a manager, and I was kind of like almost like his second in command, but I was like in-house with you. And so I was kind of managing everything like in-house.
Yes.
But
that's
answering to you, answering to him. It was like an interesting situation, but it worked really well for us.
But I think it's actually that right there, that scenario. So the manager I had at that time, he was not an organized person. He wasn't. He was scattered. He was definitely this
a great businessman.
Yes, but he's like a 50-year-old man who was so just like not with the times in a lot of ways, but great businessman. And I noticed that, Brittany, you kind of just stepped in where you had to fill the gaps for him. And I just saw how you started to shine in a whole different lane that you just fell into. And it was kind of like I hit the jackpot again because I didn't have just this internal operations manager. It was now like I had a second pair of hands and eyes helping manage and steer parts of my career. And that is what leads us to the bridge that crossed over for you into exploring the terrain of management.
Yeah.
Let's first of all, for anyone listening, and some of you guys are aspiring creators at the, you maybe just started or you are very interested and you don't know where to start. What is a manager in this world and what do they do? And kind of interweave, obviously, your story for how you started BN, the agency.
Yeah. So an influencer manager there's so many things you could say, but essentially they're the person who is guiding the career of that influencer. They're essentially taking everything off of the plate of that creator that is not creating. So everything from like getting them brand deals, managing the logistics of those brand deals, negotiating, making sure they get paid, like everything that's not creating content and posting that content and kind of like being the creator, that manager is meant to like take all of those things off the plate of the creator.
Right.
So like you want to be helping that creator kind of like pave the way to creating the ultimate like brand and business that creator wants to create. That's what like the ultimate manager does.
Yeah.
So like in my mind, what we want to do for our creators is like not just wheel and deal brand deals all day, but actually think like bigger. How can we help our creators like create a sustainable business that's not just brand deals, but like think about the book, think about the podcast, think about the things that are actually going to like
build your ecosystem,
build your business, help them create something that'll be sustainable when they're 75,
Yeah. And it's interesting because some people have asked me before, they're like, do you have to pay a manager like hourly? How does that work? So managers are paid based off of commission. So this manager, as hard as they work for you, they also win. And so the percentages of how much you can pay how much percentages come out of management. That's all agency and company dependent. Like what, and you can negotiate that as well. So I've had different types of percentages coming out for different types of things. But what's interesting is you fell into that role because you were naturally starting to do that for me. And then what I was starting to see, probably was it 2023 before I had Oliver, when I finally left the previous manager after almost a decade of being with him. It just got really at the end there, to be honest with y'all. My life was changing. I was no longer living in LA, and I was just feeling like, from the creative entrepreneur and just from a client POV, I just felt like my needs were no longer being served or met or felt. And I felt a little neglected, honestly, by this manager because he had a lot of other things going on. And it's really hard when you're in that position too, because you just feel like you're an afterthought. You just feel like, oh my gosh, things are changing around me, but I don't feel like I have somebody actually helping me look at this table right now that has a pile of a mess on it to help me figure out, how do we pivot? How do we transition and move? And social media, here's the thing, y'all, it moves so quickly and it changes so quickly that you have to have a team that is ready to go there with you and pivot with you. And I just felt like in 2023, being a new mom again to a third child, I just knew things were not working out with this previous manager. And I remember calling you one afternoon, and I remember calling you and we were just chatting about, I don't even know what I originally called you for, but I literally felt like the Holy Spirit, it just came out of me. And I just said, Brittany, I really feel like I need to leave this other manager. Like, do you want to manage me? And I remember it just came out, and I don't know why I hesitated even, Britt, when I was coming to you in that conversation, because I felt like a lost little puppy who was looking for her home again. And change is not fun. Transitions aren't fun. Having to let go of people is not fun. So I was not wanting to do any of that. And stepping into the next chapter, I knew it was time to level up. And so that's where you were a pivotal part in that journey. And we had actually kind of still been working together on some projects, but at the same time, you were at this point, your agency had completely taken off at that point. You had your client roster, you had built all of these systems, and I was just watching her as a sister fan on the sidelines, and I was like, dang, Brittany is actually crushing it. I was amazed because that is just, you know me, I'm very, very picky about this industry, and I can see holes in the game easily and be like, I'll tell you right now, that's just fluff. That's someone's just trying to funnel you. That ain't it. But when I was watching Brittany do the work, she's that person. Like, you rolled up your sleeves and you said, I am going to build my own influencer talent agency. And it was more than just about building your own client roster because you're good at it. Talk about how it was really a divine calling for you to step into that position, which was not an easy position. And you had to ultimately build this brick by brick. So talk about that, from that POV of like, whoa, this was something that God actually called me into because of what you were seeing too in our industry.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly never saw myself being a career woman, which is just so funny 5 years in, because now I love this business and I love building it, and I see myself probably owning this business and running it for the rest of my life. I love it, and I love the vision that I have for it, and I am so excited when I think about it, and when I talk about it. When I talk to my business coach, I almost get teary-eyed thinking about all the things that I want to do, because it's just exciting. But anyways, when in 2020, when COVID hit, I was managing Stevie on the side. I was still working with you, and I was managing Stevie on the side, and I was kind of just figuring out what I wanted to do. I knew God wanted to do something with me, but like I said, I didn't think of myself as a career woman, and I really didn't have a huge vision for myself. And sometimes I feel like even when you don't really have the vision for yourself, he can still do massive things with you.
That's good.
If you will just take the step forward. And so I just was like, you know what? I don't even know what this agency is going to be. I am just going to get the LLC, and I'm just going to help a few influencers. That's literally what I said.
Wow.
I didn't even call it a management company. I didn't have the confidence to call it a management company, if I'm being honest. Like, I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the vision yet. I was so nervous. I was so scared. And I was just like, I don't know, but I just knew I was supposed to do it. So, and I wanted to call it BN because I had seen a lot over the previous 5 years of other management companies and just people in general in the industry who maybe didn't treat influencers very well. A lot of distrust, a lot of like deception, a lot of just things that were not good in the influencer industry. And I was like, if I'm going to do anything in this industry, it's going to be good work with good people. And so I've always loved French culture, French language, all things French. And so I thought of the word bien,
Which actually, and also it means good, right?
Yeah.
But it also means, like, if you say it, bien, your initials are Brittany Noel.
Yeah.
So it's like
Double meaning.
It's kind of,
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah, so
chills.
bien, Brittany Noel, and then bien meaning good and well in French. And so at the heart of everything we do, I want integrity, I want transparency, I want everything to be just good, like goodness. And I want that to be the people we work with, so the influencers, the brands. If we do something wrong, I want to own up to it, like, because everybody's going to make mistakes, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I just want that to be at the heart of everything we do. And so it's just been so cool over the past 5 years to get to build it, get to prune it down when needed, get to build it back up. Like, it's just been amazing. So
You definitely built it, girl. And
thanks.
I think, a lot of people listening to this, may be new into this world of content creation. Like, do you feel like when you start out, like, let's face it, like, if you're building something, like, you can't immediately have a manager, right? Like, and do you have to have a manager to be successful? Stevie was my manager for a while. We just had to wing it and be like, yo, can you answer some of my emails for me so
And
that
he
I'm not
crushed
the
it.
one? You kind of have to like walk, not run into this if you really do want to try it out. Give yourself grace in the beginning. But what would you say to a creator that is on the beginning, like on that starting line? Let's talk to that girl, the girl that feels a bit maybe overwhelmed by it and maybe a little scared to start. And you can speak into that too, because you actually on her BN socials, which I'll link in the show notes, you actually do a good job at not only, obviously your first priority is managing and focusing on this company, but you also have had to put yourself out there on the front line and create content for your company, because whether you're an influencer or you're just have a small business nowadays, everybody has to show some face online. Yeah. So you could probably speak into that too. And I can as well. But what would you say to the girl that is scared? Because I've gotten that question. I'm scared to start creating content in 2025. What would you say to her right now?
I would say that if you're scared, that is such a sign that you are supposed to do it. Like, I think fear is such a good thing. And if you are scared of it, walk towards that fear. Reframe it in your head. Go towards it. And use that to be like, okay, I'm scared of it. What am I scared of? Okay. Use that, walk towards it, figure out why you're scared and work that out. And then figure out, like, why do you want to do this? Like,
know your why.
Know your why. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit cliche, but like, it's gotta go beyond money. It's gotta go beyond fame or popularity or like clout or, filling a hole. It's gotta go beyond like,
it's gotta be bigger than you.
It's even gotta go beyond like providing for your family, to be honest.
Yeah.
You have to want to provide some kind of value to people. Yep. And it has to be something like that you can uniquely provide. And that doesn't mean like that it's not something that someone else out there is like maybe doing, but it's got to be something that like you uniquely can do, because everybody can uniquely do something, provide something to the audience that they're going to be like speaking to.
Yeah.
And you have to know what that thing is. And until you know what that thing is, then I wouldn't necessarily like just start doing it. And I wouldn't say that that's like a non-starter, but if you're going to just start like everybody says that you should do, then I would get a notebook and I would start writing down like, why do I want to do this? And I would start
Planning.
with that.
Yeah.
Start planning. I wouldn't necessarily start shooting content and posting it.
Yes.
I would start writing down like, why are we doing this? What are we going to do? Planning out those content pillars, planning out if you want to, do you want to be in like some kind of like niche? And if you want to be in a niche, like how are you going to differentiate yourself from other people in that niche?
Yes.
And if you want to be in a niche, how are you going to make it like sustainable for yourself?
And authentic.
And authentic. Just start planning. Let that be your starter.
That's a really good point. And if you do record, the beautiful thing about recording is you can start organizing little folders in your phone. So maybe you actually record and edit the content and you put it all and store it into a folder, but you don't have to edit and you don't have to shoot, edit, and post in the same sitting.
Yep.
Maybe like Brittany, you're saying plan and wait it out. And I'll tell you guys, for me being on that content creation side, I still now, for almost 13, 14 years in this content creation space, it changes so quickly. The algorithms change so quickly. So I have to say, it is not for the weak. And what I mean by that is if you're somebody who just loves structure and you love just like the same thing all the time, you've got to also be open to the idea that in 30 days, whatever you planned and shot and filmed, be prepared that the next 30 days after that, you might be pivoting and switching it up because there is this uncertainty in the wild beast that is social media. But that is where I'm a weird psychopath and I love the uncertainty. I can't do a job, I don't think, where I sit in a cubicle. I envy those jobs because I'm like, dang, they get to like, they know exactly what they're doing today. They know exactly how to show up and they get to go home and turn it off. For me, ooh, girl, I wish I had a cubicle even in my head when it comes to like knowing my limits, but that is what makes it as exciting. You see what's working, what's not working, and you cannot be hard on yourself. So that's another thing is I want to talk to you about. And I'm going to bring up two things here so you can answer them both. What would you say to the creator who feels like I'm only as good as my last piece of content? Let's just be honest. We all feel that, whether you're grandma posting your recipe or you're in the content creation space, when you put yourself out there, it is intimidating when you post something and everybody sees it. You feel exposed. So what would you say to the girl who's like, dang, I'm only as good as my last piece of content? And secondly, what should these girls be kind of trying to, a little bit of fluffing of the feathers maybe, to get brands to notice them if they want to make this a lucrative business? How does that content coincide with that?
So the first question, I'm only as good as my last piece of content. If you're going to go into this business, you need to know who you are. You need to have a firm foundation. You need to know your identity. In my opinion, that's in the Lord. You need to know like who you are as a person. You need to know what makes you valuable, and that ultimately that is not in social media or what you do in general. And ultimately also think, and so to get out of the, fluffiness, ultimately look at everything that you post as a piece of data. Track everything. If you're going to try posting a reel about your bedtime routine, think, okay, I'm going to post that 6 times and I'm going to track how many people like it, how many people comment on it, how many people share it. And we're going to track that each 6 times. I'm going to see what time I post it, what day I post it, and we're going to see how that goes. And just track it and literally think of it as a piece of data. Do not let it get emotional for you because you have to think, one, maybe 1 or 2 people out there are thinking about it personally for you, but like those people don't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
And 2, most of it is the algorithm. Okay. Most of it is that platform is working against you. And when you're first getting started, like it is a consistency game. And so when you're first getting started, like you have to be so consistent that like even 6 times testing something is not enough. Like you almost have to give yourself 3 months of being consistent with that bedtime routine post to see if that's something that your audience is going to like. So you're only as good as your last piece of content.
Piece of content.
That's just like not giving yourself enough justice. Like you have to give yourself time and consistency. And after 3 months of maybe posting something similar and it's still not landing, then consider changing it up. Like maybe your audience doesn't like that thing, and maybe we need to like switch the
lens cap on
lens
how you're
cap,
sharing it.
How
Yeah.
you're sharing it. It doesn't even mean that they don't like the topic. Like it just maybe means they don't like the package you're putting it in.
Right.
So anyways, like there's just so many ways to spin it, but you need to know who you are, and you need to just look at it as a piece of data and not something that
You
says
take so
anything
personally, which is so hard for me too, guys.
Yeah.
I'm so emotional. Everything that I create, it is from a place in my heart that I feel is nowadays you just don't want to put up anything that you really don't love either, because it's about quality, not quantity. And in that consistency, you want good quality content. And so it's hard to not get emotionally attached to our content when you're a creative person and you treat your craft like an art form. And I have been there too. And what I will say is when I start to get bogged down and I start to cling to my phone and refresh, like, does people like this? Oh my gosh, did this comment, or some people don't take things the way that you would hope, and now you're offending people. You've really got to know, like Brittany said, know who you are and know when to log off. If you're super sensitive to some of that stuff, as you're growing through that, I say schedule these posts so that you know once it's scheduled and it's out there, it's out there. You can't fixate and overthink it. And so maybe you have a little period of doing that as well. I've had to do that sometimes when I'm like, I don't want to post this, but I know that the Lord is telling me I absolutely need to post this. And I go back and forth. And sometimes I just schedule it and I'm like, it's going up whether I like it or not at Tuesday at 11 a.m., you know? Also, this conversation right now is so good. And I just feel like some of you guys listening we all use social media. So it's actually even a very mindful way to approach it, even if you're not treating this like a business. So all this insight you're bringing is so helpful. I just want to take a quick detour here because I saw something the other day and I don't want to forget about it. And I ended up saving it on my phone, which, by the way, y'all, our note sections of our phones, I don't know if you do this, Britt, but anytime I see content that I love, that I'm like, ooh, that resonates, either I'll save it on the app, but if I just don't want it in the app because I don't want to even check the app sometimes, I'll just save the URL in the note section of my phone and go back to it. It really helps you if you have an inspirational content bank or a place where you saw something or a trending audio or you saw a video someone posted and you're like, wait, I love that and that actually fits my style of posting. Save it and then create categories under that notes section so that if you're having a day where you're like, ugh, I'm in a creative rut, girl, we don't got to reinvent the wheel. Go to that creative bank and recreate. Take some of that stuff as inspiration and add your own flair to it. So I actually did that for this post. And I saw a carousel that said, influencers are out, communities are in. I want to hear your take on this, Brittany. This is, consider it like the business of belonging is what they're calling it, okay? Influencers are out, communities are in. They said the rise and fall of the influencer. There's a big, isn't that funny? There's a big shift in how we are as consumers of products or content. And how we want to interact. We've gone from traditional media and ads to influencers, and for a while it felt relatable and it worked. You see someone's lifestyle, you aspire to it, and you buy the things that help you emulate that lifestyle. Lovely. But that quickly became transactional too. Now we're seeing the rise of community, where people come together around a shared topic led by someone they trust. It's not just about attention anymore. It's about belonging and participation. Community leaders are the new it girls. From run clubs and book clubs, thoughtfully curated events to private online communities. People want to be talked to, not talked at. Getting attention is now much harder than even a year ago, and brands and creators need to reshape the relationship between them and their audiences. Loyalty is now built through people feeling seen, feeling like they belong, and being given meaningful ways to participate. So I wanted to hear your take on that. Do you agree that that's kind of where we're heading?
I definitely agree with that. I don't think influencers are out. I do think that was a pretty,
clickbait title.
I think influencers are very much in and growing. And I mean, everything is saying that, brands are just going to be throwing more dollars at that and that it's just going to keep multiplying. But I think the influencers who are going to be like more wildly successful and influential are going to be the ones who talk to their communities and focus on creating communities. And those are going to be the ones who actually care about their people and perhaps have a smaller following, but that following is an actual
Enriched.
community and rich in conversation, in actual topical conversation, if you know what I mean.
Yes. It's creating a world within a world, it feels.
World within
right?
a world. Those are going to be the ones who actually sell product, who are able to fill an auditorium, who are able to do a product line that community cares about, who are able to have a podcast that community cares about. Those are going to be the creators who create a sustainable brand as well. I think in the future, because in the past, like the creators who built a business, who were OGs, kind of like you, who have been doing it for a long time, you created a community. You've been doing this for a long time, and you've kind of like had something for so long. I think a lot of creators who came up from 2020 on, it's just been like, let me, and no shade, but let me dance in front of the camera. Let me just like push content out.
Like
let
trending
me just,
stuff.
Let me just push as many brands as possible. And let
They
me
lost
get my
that, yeah.
paper and let me talk at you and not to you. And you can get very rich doing that, but you're not going to
Sustain.
keep people around.
That's
People
that-
need to feel cared for.
And I think people needed to hear that, Britt, because that's brutal truth that a manager will tell you. A good manager will tell you that, dancing, if that makes sense for you, it's like, okay, girl, I feel you. Go for it. Burn those calories, girlfriend. But what we're really talking about here is sustainability in this space. And if you're wanting it to be a lucrative place, you really have to go to that whole idea of like, what's in it for them? What is in it for my community? That is actually something I learned in college when I studied broadcast journalism. That was one of the first things I remember in one of my radio TV classes was they said in TV news, some of you guys want to get into broadcasting, she literally said the most important thing when you're going and writing a story or you're, chasing a story is to always remember that you're writing from the POV point of view of what is in it for them. This community, the audience, the viewer, and I think the media that is social media, it is the same lens cap, but what we've seen is it's just become more of this like this camera that just sits on people's walls and they're just kind of letting you into their lives, which is, yes, great. It's authentic. But again, you have to tether to your why. And there's going to be seasons where doing the same exact video every day and everybody's seeing you making a milkshake or your workout routine. I think after a while, the audience and the viewer kind of wonders like, this isn't really for me anymore. Like, I feel like you're talking at me, not to me. And so that was a very real thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. But you did mention brands, and I want to go back to that because it's refreshing to hear, right? Because a lot of this is a maybe a little bit of a taboo topic, a hot take you can say, is some creators are struggling right now to get brands to notice them. It feels like they're a needle in a haystack, and especially as a new creator who's aspiring to make this a lucrative business for themselves, you are saying that brands still very much have pockets and is that the saying? Pockets to fill?
Deep pockets?
Deep pockets, queen. Brands still have deep pockets, you're saying. And you see it all day, every day, because you're talking to these brands and these agencies. So tell me about the brands in 2025. What are these brands looking for? And how deep are these pockets?
The pockets can be quite deep, but they are being very strategic with how they spend that money. Okay. So like back in 2015, when we got started, brands were just throwing money around.
And long form deals. They'll be like, for a year, we'll
2
sign
years,
you for a year.
40,000, 100,000, whatever.
Crazy money, y'all.
Crazy money. It was insane. It was like the heyday, right? Now every brand has an influencer marketing team. They've got specialists. They've got platforms telling them whose engagement rate is what we can expect ROI wise. Like everything is calculated. So they're spending money very wisely. So what they're looking at is they want to, speaking of community, they want creators who have a community. They're looking at your engagement. They're looking at how you're talking to your community, and they're looking at how your community is talking back. A lot of castings that we see is we want creators who, well, first of all, we see a lot of castings where it's like they're looking for very niche things. So take that as like, if you have something like special and unique about you, use that.
Uniqueness. That's a key word here.
Use that in your brand. But also lots of brands right now, just because of like the state of the economy, are looking for conversion. So as much as like that shouldn't be the driving force necessarily behind what you're doing, you need to figure out what your audience values and trusts from you in terms of product, and what they are going to trust you to sell to them, if that makes sense. Because brands want to know that if they're going to pay you to market something, a lot of them are going to expect you to actually convert when you're marketing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. They want to see that you have a community, and they want to see that your community trusts you. They also want to see that you have consistent content. And so a lot of creators, they can get a little bit bogged down. I don't want to say lazy. This job is hard. Like, it's a lot harder.
It's like just as many sponsored posts. If only y'all knew how many organic posts actually go into it as well. And I don't even separate the two. I actually just consider it all together, because if you're going to do a sponsored post, you want it to just ebb and flow with the natural conversations you've been having with your community. Like if you've been talking about your hair loss stuff, brands see that. And then they come alongside you and say, well, have you tried our product? We can send it to you and you can try it. And then it ends up being a partnership. And then you bring your community back into the conversation. And that to me is a chef's kiss type of brand deal that's easy to shoot because it resonates with you and your audience.
Yeah.
Continue.
And brands want to see that their content is going to fit seamlessly into your organic content. So first, your organic content needs to be pretty consistent.
Can we explain what organic content is for anyone who's like, what the heck? Is this like gluten-free?
Yeah. In the organic section at the grocery store.
Is this from farmer's market?
Just content that is not branded, that is not monetized, that is not paid. Nobody's paying you to do it. Just your content that you're shooting for funsies, right? So I would say that you need at least 4 to 5 posts on your feed between each sponsored posts, at least, right?
Yep.
And brands need to be able to go to your feed. It needs to be a resume that says, like, this is what Sazan is about. This is what she can offer you. This is what you could expect to see in a branded post if you were to pay her to market your hair loss.
And that's how you pitch me, right? Because let's just say managers are pitching, okay? So it's funny when Brittany shows me and talks to me. We have meetings, and she's talking about like, oh my gosh, like, this, your audience right now is just loving you sharing blank. Or maybe it's like my little outfit posts or whatever. And they're watching. Good management is watching what you're organically posting, and they're going to go after the brands for you, which is really nice. And that is a dream scenario as well.
Yep. So whatever you're posting about that's doing really well, either you or your management should be then taking it to brands that are adjacent to those things and saying like, hey, swimwear's doing really well for Sazan. Let's do a swimwear collab. Hey, beauty's doing really well for Sazan. It would make sense if we did some kind of beauty campaign. So just know that like brands want to be able to see themselves in your content. They want to see that they would like fit seamlessly. They want to see that your community would respond really well. They want to see that like you do high quality work.
Yeah. And that, and everything we're talking about now, it does feel like more higher level. Like, let's say you're at that stage where you want to get the 6-figure deals, but I want to rewind back to, remember Brittany, when I started out too, like, I remember thinking I need to make money for the time that I'm really pouring into this when I was once upon a time ago a newbie in this territory. And I was like, I have to be making money. I was living in LA. I had given up the whole career of TV hosting stuff and broadcasting.
Yeah.
And I realized I know that I can grow this exciting medium that is social media, and I can be my own producer. That made me so excited, but I also knew I had to make ends meet. So Stevie and I, something that we did that I always tell new creators is that it probably would still work today. Let's say you have maybe 3,000, 5,000 followers, okay? Maybe not even, but let's say that your content is pretty rich. The community that you do have there is pretty engaged, okay? It would be a really cool, fun idea to just maybe pitch yourself. And Brittany, you can add this in because we're going to get into something that she just launched that's going to help you guys more than this probably. But I would go on Etsy. You know Etsy. We all love Etsy. But there's all these really sweet mom and pop shops at the time. And I remember looking at it thinking, I would love to just get stuff, first of all, to be able to shoot content. But let me team up with some of these mom and pop brands. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a little pitch deck for myself. So I had like platinum, silver, gold options. It was like 3 tiers. And I remember it was like the most that I would pitch to these Etsy brands in the DMs of Etsy is if they wanted the whole shebang. A blog post feature on spazmag.com. That used to be my blog name. And high-res images from Stevie Hendrix. And also a post on my social media. Plus, if they gifted me an extra product, I could do a giveaway to grow both mine and their pages. And at the time, giveaways were really starting to flourish. And I think it's still a really great marketing tool, giveaways. And I didn't have to pay for it. They just gave me an extra one. I was like, great. And for all of that, it was like $500. I remember this was before a brand came knocking on my door. This is before I ever worked. I pitched myself. And this was after a very big agency turned me down at the time. You know who that agency is. I remember I went into that agency. I was so excited to be signed by them. And they said, I'm so sorry. Like, you're just not there with your numbers. Like, you can try Sears. And I remember at the time that could really defeat a young girl who's like 23, 24, and they could walk away and say, I'm not cut out for this. And that could have literally ruined someone who doesn't have a backbone. Me? Girl, the fire that ignited, I said, I'm going to go do this myself and prove you wrong. And honestly, I did. Me and Steve were like, dang, $500. Every brand was like, we'll do the $500, the $500. I was like, we need to up our prices. What are we doing here? And that's when we brought Brittany on slowly but surely, and she helped us create some law and order. But all of that to say, I just want to encourage the new creator out there who's like, well, I don't have millions of followers. I don't have Target and all these big brands knocking yet. What can I do in the waiting? And to prepare, but then also to pitch. But then I also want to share that now it's 2025 and we've got so many amazing resources out there. And we're looking at one right now because Brittany, you this year just launched something so new in your world, but it's because you saw it as a felt need. You talk to creators all day, every day, people who want to sign with your agency, girls that sometimes you have to turn away.
Yeah.
You created something for these people because you care so deeply about people who are starting in their journeys. It's your own course. It is a course for new creators. Tell us all about that. Spill that tea, girl, and don't you hold back because I wish I had this 10 plus years ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, we just launched it, I think a few weeks ago. And it was an idea because we had hundreds of people applying for BN, and we're just a boutique agency. And so we only take on people that we have the capacity to serve. And so we were inevitably turning a ton of people away.
Which is mad respect because there's agencies that do the opposite and they sign everybody and then they neglect you and you're on the bottom of the totem pole.
Right. And I never want anyone on our roster to feel neglected. And so we were turning tons of people away. But then I was like, I hate turning people away without giving them something. And so I was just looking around and there were no resources for creators without management. I mean, there were social media courses and things for like growing your platform and things like that, but there was nothing that said like, here's how to manage yourself without a manager. Like, here's what to do in the meantime. Here's how to price yourself. Here's how to pitch yourself. Here's like a nice little package with a bow. Here's what to do. There was nothing like that. And I think because I was a teacher and I had this love of education, I was just like, I want to give them something that's pretty affordable, that actually gives them a pretty good step-by-step, bite size, and just kind of gives them what to do while they're growing. So I created this course over the course of the last year, and we launched it this month or in October, I guess. And it's been really great, and I think it's going to help a lot of creators. I'm really excited about it.
What do you feel like is one of the biggest takeaways of this course? Like, why do you feel like if you're going to invest in this and sign up for this is like the first step of like, I'm going to do this content creation thing. And this is maybe for a lot of women, the first thing they're going to invest in.
Yeah.
What would you say is like, I know there's probably a lot, but if you had to say, you are going to literally walk away from this course with blank, like, tell me what is that thing? I always just get so giddy for that stuff. Like, are they gonna literally be like, oh my gosh, I know what a pillar is?
Well, in the first module, you're going to figure out why the heck you want to do this. Like, what is
your why?
Yeah, it's going to walk you through, like, get down to the brass tacks of like, what is going to be your driving force of like why you're doing this. You're going to figure out what your content pillars are, whether you want to niche or whether you want to remain kind of broadly lifestyle and break those into 4 pillars. You're going to figure out how to do that and like how to make it a sustainable brand.
Like splice and dicing the pie. You're going to help create that pie and you're going to help splice and dice it, meaning this percentage of content vibes is like your lifestyle pillar and this and that. Like, oh my gosh, Britt.
So that's what you'll walk away with just in the first module.
And there's 3, right?
And there's 3. And so I've had some people email me saying, well, like, if I haven't even gotten started, like, is this a good course? And honestly, just module 1 is good for people who haven't even gotten started.
It's giving masterclass vibes. You need to like watch it and you'll be inspired.
But even if you've gotten started, maybe if you're at like 10,000, 20,000 followers or whatever, and then you don't know what to do from there, then you go to module 2. And that's where it literally gives you a graph of like how to price yourself, what to do about usage, exclusivity, what to look for in contracts, how to pitch yourself, what to say. Like, I've had so many creators come to us and be like, yeah, I have brands reaching out to me, but I just ignore them because I don't know what to say.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that horrible?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're leaving so much money on the table because you literally don't know what to email back. Let me tell you what to email back. Because then when you do go to managers, you can say, I am making $100,000 a year because I'm emailing these brands back.
Yeah.
It will change the game for you.
And you saw it from that angle for years. You were on the front line of communication with the brands. You were CC'd on all of the conversations and you saw what brands want to hear and how to pitch yourself essentially. But that can be very intimidating. And I'll also say some brands I've seen in the last decade of my career can be savage where they ain't trying to pay you. And you're like, honey. That's why contracts are so important. That's why understanding the terms in the contract is important. And when you're just trying to be the creative thinker, which is the ultimate goal, that you can hand off all of this other drudgery stuff to your team, but you definitely want to know like what in the world, how do I even like, what do I look for in a contract? What does exclusivity even mean? It's all these terms and definitions in this industry that have formed, but you really have to know it. And so it's great that you kind of break this down. I wouldn't say it's a course for dummies, but it is literally like whatever stage you are at in your content creation wheel, you really come alongside those people to know that like, okay, I know you might want to run away, but no, this is actually the time to grow. It is growing pains. So
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, by the way, for that. Like, just from can I just brag? Like, being this big sis and watching you launch that, I saw the work it took. Doing a course, first of all, it's no easy work. And also managing your business at the same time. It's like, I don't know how you did it. It's clear that you had that anointing over you. I wanted to quickly, as we get ready to wrap up this episode, there's just so much more. Should we do a part 2? But by the way, do we need to have manager Britt back on here in like maybe a couple months to check in on everybody who's going to start with content creation? Comment in the show notes and let our sister know. We've got to do quick do's and don'ts. Okay. If all else fails and you're feeling a little bit like, okay, I'm ready to start. Maybe you're overwhelmed and you're like, dang, I need a Diet Coke after this. We're going to just quickly go through some do's and don'ts. And I will say, Brittany, we already hit a lot of these do's. Know your why. That was a do.
Yep.
Be consistent. Engage with your community. Keep up with the data and the algorithms. Stay authentic. And this one is definitely a do, wouldn't you say? Protecting your mental health and setting boundaries and rest. Can we just time out for a quick 2 seconds to talk about that? Because the fatigue, girl, like I'm sorry, but like
you used to not have any boundary, and you got real burned out.
My kids
and then I
saved
think having
me.
Teeny saved your life.
Truly. And I want to like save some of these women's lives right now who they get on social media nowadays, and it really sucks the mental out of you. It is doom scrolling. It is dopamine hits. How do you set those boundaries when you know you work in these spaces too? Like, what are we doing?
Me?
Yeah, girl. From a manager standpoint, what are you doing for yourself? But then also, what would you tell your clients who you can tell they need to have it? Yeah.
Well, for myself, I got the brick. I'm a big
Oh
fan.
my God. Can they sponsor the show?
Yeah, seriously.
You need to call them and we need to give everyone a free brick because you, Steve, and John have talked about this.
I use John's code. I use John's code. You should put it in the show notes.
Okay, there you go. Tell us, what is the brick again for anyone listening and you're like, what is that?
Basically, you can program it to lock you out of whatever you need locking out of. And so I program it to every night at 8:00 lock me out of everything social media related.
Wow.
Because like I get caught up scrolling like everybody else, but also looking at all of my client stuff, and it's like you gotta stop at some point.
Yeah.
And so it just automatically locks me out, and then I can't get back in until I physically tap the actual brick.
Versus when our phones, you know, on your phone, you can set timers. You
Right.
can override those
I will
timers.
override that so fast. And so having like an
Wow.
actual physical thing, and I won't go do it until after I've done my morning routine in the morning. So I have like rules in my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten it yet. I mean, Stevie has it on our
It's great.
fridge. And I think I just recently, this is something I told Britt and my agent at BN too. I told you and Jackie, I said this recently on our last call. I said, I want to do something that I've never done in the 14 years of being on these platforms. And I said, I want to take a week off every month. I think I've earned my stripes, my scars, my all the things. And it's a challenge for me because I do love what I do. Mm-hmm. I love communicating with my girls online. But I've also seen how I have to set boundaries so that I can be the present mom that I want to be at home. And doing this, I've officially this is going to be the first month I do it. Around Thanksgiving is when I said I'm going to really pull the trigger. Let's walk, not run into this. And that week I'm going offline, you guys. You're not going to see me post for 7 days. It's going to be quiet. I've never done that in 14 years that I've been here.
I'm excited for you, and watch, nothing will burn down. Everyone will be okay.
Thank you, Britt.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that.
And I think all creators like need to figure out some kind of schedule like that where you just
take off,
maybe even if it's 1 day a week, like whatever you need to do that will just give you some clarity, because you are a creator at the end of the day. You need to recharge your creative batteries, and like you have to stop creating in order to do that. Like you have to like give yourself a break.
Yeah.
You can't keep going all day long, all the time. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what will happen when I do that, because I know that my rule for myself that week is that I still can create content, but I'm not posting it. I'm not getting on Instagram.
Yep.
And I just know when I have that free time off of the platform, it feels like a child that I don't have to actually tend to and I get a vacation from. I just know that creatively God is going to be speaking to me as a homemaker, just as a woman of my house with my kids. I can't wait to see what's going to come to life in that creative muscle of mine when I take off. That's amazing. So, yep, this is your permission slip to take off, guys. Okay, here are some don'ts. Would you agree or disagree? Don't chase every trend or platform.
Agree.
So you agree you don't have to be on every platform.
I do agree you don't have to be on every platform.
Like, brands don't come for you, Brittany, and say, we need an influencer. In order for them to get this brand deal, they have to be on every single platform.
There's certain brands that do. There's certain campaigns that do. So you do have to come to terms with the fact that you'll miss out on stuff. But that doesn't mean you have to do every platform. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I have a rule where it's like I have three, my top three.
I think 3 is
It's Instagram,
great.
YouTube, and TikTok, and it's in that order. Instagram gets most of the juice, then it seeps into the YouTube just because it takes more time. It's long form. And then TikTok gets whatever leftover remnants.
I think 3 is wonderful. And what I will say is you never want to have just 1 or 2. I think 3 is amazing.
And I just love Pinterest, by the way. That's like my platform of
fun.
enjoyment. That's my cup of joy platform.
I love that.
Isn't that
You
yours?
just keep doing that. You're good at Pinterest.
I just love my algorithm on there. It gets me. Pinterest, she gets us, you guys. Like, I just love her. She's the friend that nobody tells you about, but she really just like fills your cup.
I need to get back on
Okay.
Pinterest. Okay.
Don't lose your brand voice or visual consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like visual consistency, I guess aesthetic is like maybe become a little less important in the past couple
Like,
of
ain't nobody
years.
looking at your home feed.
Not as much, but I do think like if you have a brand and a vibe, that's almost going to kind of create itself. But I don't think you need to be like, that doesn't go with my aesthetic. I think you need to be more worried about like your voice and your what's the value you're offering. You
That's good. Don't depend on viral moments. Build substance.
100%. Yeah. I think trending audio and all that stuff is like fun and you should use it to your advantage, but don't depend on it and don't like make it your brand. You know?
Yeah, don't make that your pillars. Everything I do, I'm doing it just because I think this is going to hit.
100%. But if you see something that you're like, oh, I could make that work, like use it.
And a lot of the
Great.
times, it's content that you never even thought would hit that hits. Like
yeah.
Amari's Bar and Restaurant, that was not even a series. That wasn't even something I said, I'm going to post this video of my daughter in the little green glasses taking our orders. And I'm going to just, this is it. I'm going to hit a gold mine. No, I did not. It literally went viral because it was just something I posted in the moment that I just loved myself and I shared it and it went off. It went off at the right time. And to this day, I get people asking me, are you the mom to the girl in the green glasses taking orders?
my favorite.
My sweet Maddie. Okay, next one. Don't compromise your values for clicks or clout. Can we just
100%. Yeah.
do.
Please do not.
Do you feel like sometimes it's hard for creators to be themselves in a climate, in a world today where everything feels so taboo or like, sensitivity, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about your faith. I remember this happened the first time when I became a mom. It wasn't you who said it, but it was previous management that told me, don't post too much about being a mom. You won't be getting the deals, the beauty deals, the fashion deals, which is what I was in that era.
yeah.
They were like, don't be too mom. And at that time, momming, like mom bloggers weren't as big of a thing when I first became a mom in 2018. And so I remember that really that actually affected me for years. I had some trauma from that, PTSD. It was just, it wasn't from a place of like protect your peace and your family. It was more like, don't post too much that you're like a mommy blogger. And even when I had a campaign at 9 months with Teeny pregnant, I remember a brand signed me and they said, please try to hide your stomach though. Just get chest up on this shot because we don't want people to think this is a maternity line. And I just remembered thinking at that time, like, dang, I didn't have any I just was going with it because I was like, oh, okay. But if I could go back to that girl, I would say, don't compromise who you are for even what you want to be. Like, always stay true to the season that you're in, whether it's mom life, whether it is, like you are in your single era, girl, and you feel called to share that. It's like, and if you're a woman of faith, that has been the biggest challenge for me now is this playground is actually a bold declaration of that. Sharing faith. That's hard, Britt. What do you tell your clients? And do you feel like in a world today, like you have to hold back a little bit? Like, what are your advice? What's your advice to girls on that?
Because we have a lot of clients who share their faith online, and everybody's going to have like their different journey with it, and everybody's going to feel called to do something a little bit differently. And that's not for me to kind of tell anybody what to do. So whenever someone asks me my opinion on like what they should do or say, I kind of ultimately tell them, like, you need to do what feels peaceful. You need to do what you feel like ultimately you are supposed to do or say, and don't go against that. And so I think ultimately it comes down to that gut feeling, and really try to get in touch with that and follow your boundaries, like stay true to your boundaries. Don't share things you don't want to share. Share things that you do feel like you're called to share, and like really follow the path of peace ultimately. If you feel like you're not supposed to share your children online, don't share your children online. If you feel like it's okay, go for it.
Yeah.
If you feel like you need to talk about your faith, do it. If you feel like you want to be more reserved in this season of life, okay. Like, I feel like nobody is really allowed to judge what other people are sharing at that moment, because you just really never know what they're going through internally. And I think it's so easy for everybody to think that they do know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%. And I will say, you and I can testify to this, that me talking about my faith from the moment back in 2015 when Steve and I got married, I was never shy to talk about faith stuff. I was just always very sensitive in the spirit to it, because I knew that a lot of women who followed me, and even people closest to me in my circle, they didn't believe what I believe. So I didn't want to be that preacher that just tells and puts people in a chokehold with things. I'm like, I wanted to hopefully pave a path that would show, not tell people who God is and his love, because Jesus genuinely is the most important part of my existence. But I know that it's always going to have to be through this approach and this lens of tenderness, and to show, not tell. And so I will say that never affected opportunities for me. I never didn't get a brand deal. And if I didn't, I never knew about it. It never hit me. But it never affected my revenue stream. And that was something of God too. He was just like, do you trust me? I'm your provider. Instagram is not your provider. I am ultimately the provider of all things. And so I just want to encourage any women of faith that you feel called to speak up, to rise, and to share those gifts and talents in your own unique way. Like Brittany said, follow the peace. Okay, last question.
Okay.
This is do or don't. You decide.
Okay.
AI in your business. You decide, Brittany. Is that a do or a don't, or is it a yellow flag in the middle? Red flag, green flag, yellow flag.
I'm going to say yellow, because I think there's good ways to use it and there's bad ways to use it. Like, I mean, for example, I definitely use ChatGPT to help me with like structuring certain things, and
It's like an AI assistant.
Yeah, almost like an AI assistant.
I wish I had that, honestly, in
if you
2013.
know how to intelligently use things like ChatGPT, it can be a great tool. But don't just lean on it. You have to really intelligently know how to use it.
And don't let it be your voice.
And don't just copy and paste from it, like for the love of all. And I think you have to be really careful as a creator if you're using it for your content. Like, I don't even know if people should really go there right now. Like,
I can tell. I can tell when something is ChatGPT'd.
Yeah.
And what I always do, like if I'm using ChatGPT to research or to get to the bottom of something without having to go on Google, it's like I treat it like a search engine a lot of the times. And then there's times if you need to clean up your grammar work, girl, you better believe it. I'm going in there. And then a lot of times I'm like, this actually cleaning it up made me like kind of low key, like this ain't the vibe. Like the way I talk, it's like a conversation. And so ChatGPT tries to perfect your words. And sometimes that's just, is that the vibe you want to put out? There's times where I've had to go back and say, nope, that actually is not it. And I go back to my original and I just clean it up and that's it. I have loved this conversation with you, Britt. You are absolutely the best. I am going to link in the show notes, you guys, her course. Make sure you click on that and check it out. Do you got any exclusive discounts for us or anything you can share? You love how I put her on the spot.
Yes.
Brittany, hit us with something.
No, I was going to say.
Should they sign up for your email or where can we get some good?
Yes, we have free resources. So if you're not quite like ready to commit to the course, you can go on our website. It's bien, BIEN, theagency.com. And we've got free resources on there. You can also learn more about the course on there. And if you use code Sazan, SAZON.
That's me.
You can get $50 off the course.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I finally.
Just
Britt,
for you guys.
You're the first person on my show to give them a code.
To get a code.
Every episode, I'm like, yo, TJ Maxx, can we get him a code? Y'all, there you go. Your first opportunity right there, y'all. Wow, Britt, you're everyone's manager. She is the mama manager for all of us. We're gonna end this the same way I end every show. What is one fun thing in your life right now? It can be anything, something fun you're enjoying.
Okay, I haven't enjoyed it quite yet, but something my business coach has challenged me to do, and this is to help get my creative juices flowing a little more, is to start taking myself on solo dates. So I'm going to, and it's just has to be like purely things that like I enjoy and it has to be by myself. And so next Saturday, I'm going to like get a special coffee and go to like an antique store that I love and maybe even go on like a little nature hike and like just take like 4 hours and take myself on a date. So I'm excited.
You're fun now.
I'm fun now.
That was very fun now. Okay, there you go, guys. Brittany, I love you so much. Thanks for hanging out today.
This is so fun.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, would you just do me a little fave and rate and review, comment below, and send this to someone. If you were like, well, this wasn't for me, but I can think of someone who needs to listen to this episode, pass it on, ladies. That's what the playground is all about. All right. I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Bye.